Want to know how to achieve great results without working harder? In the book, The 80/20th Principle, The Secret to Achieving More with Less, Richard Koch reveals the secret behind the success of top performers. 80% of our results come from only 20% of our effort. In this video, we'll discuss how you can apply this principle in various aspects of your life, from your career to your business to your personal life, to achieve more with less. Learn how to work smarter, not harder, and maximize your productivity with this simple principle. Hello everyone, my name is August, and welcome to the Shift Perspective podcast. This time, we will discuss an interesting topic: how to achieve extraordinary results without working harder by applying the 80/20th principle. Watch this video to the end and discover the secret to increasing your results with minimal effort. Change your life starting today with the 80/20th principle. Enjoy the podcast. I hope you find it useful. Thank you.
All right, so are you ready to unlock some serious productivity secrets?
Yeah.
Because today we are diving deep into a principle that you probably already know, but maybe you haven't fully unleashed in your life. You know what I'm talking about, the 80/20 principle. You've shared some excerpts from what's it called, the 80/20 principle, the secret of achieving more with less. And wow, this book does not disappoint.
Yeah, it's been called life-changing and for good reason.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do today is we're going to explore this deceptively simple principle.
Okay.
That 80% of effects come from just 20% of causes. And we're going to see how it can totally revolutionize how you work and live.
Okay, so I'm intrigued, but also a little intimidated. I mean, if 80% of my efforts are potentially going to waste, where do I even begin to find that magic 20%?
Yeah, it's not really about writing off 80% of everything you do, but it's more about being curious about where you're focusing your energy.
Okay.
So think way back, to 1897.
Oh, wow. Okay.
To this guy, Pareto. He was an Italian economist.
Okay.
And he noticed this pattern in wealth distribution.
Yeah.
80% of the land was owned by just 20% of the people.
Interesting.
Now, you might be thinking, what does Italian land have to do with my to-do list, right?
Yeah.
But that's where it gets interesting.
Okay, hit me with it.
So decades after Pareto, a quality control expert named Joseph Duran, he was observing a factory, and he saw that 20% of the causes were actually responsible for 80% of the defects.
Wow.
So suddenly, this kind of niche observation about wealth becomes this powerful lens for understanding efficiency across all these different industries.
So it's not about the size of the effort, but the strategic placement of it. It's like finding that one pressure point that unlocks everything.
Exactly.
So give me an example. How has a company used this to their advantage?
Okay, picture this. 1960s, the dawn of the computer age, right?
Mm-hmm.
IBM is around. They make a game-changing discovery. They realize that 80% of a computer's processing time is actually being spent on just 20% of its code.
Oh, wow.
So what do they do?
What do they do?
They reorganize that crucial 20%. They optimize it for maximum efficiency.
And that's how they boosted computer performance, just by focusing on a smaller section of code.
Exactly. It wasn't about writing more code. It was about understanding which code was mission critical.
Oh, that's incredible.
And it wasn't just IBM that caught on to this. Ford, famous for their assembly lines, they applied the 80/20 principle to their inventory system. And they ended up winning a Shingo Prize, a very prestigious award for operational excellence.
Wow.
Because they implemented this just-in-time system that minimized waste and just dramatically increased their efficiency.
This is blowing my mind. It's a total paradigm shift.
Right.
From this more's always better mentality. But I have to ask, what about a company like Apple? They're known for innovation. Surely they wouldn't just focus on a tiny fraction of their products or features, right?
You'd be surprised. Even Apple, when they were developing the Newton message pad, they realized that most users actually relied on a small fraction of the available vocabulary.
Interesting.
So that actually influenced their design choices, which proves that the 80/20 principle isn't about limiting creativity. It's about channeling it strategically.
Okay.
And this idea, it even extends to what's called the 80/20 theory of the firm.
Okay, now you're just using buzzwords. Break it down for me. What does that even mean for someone, running their own business?
Okay, so it means that some suppliers consistently outperform others, not by being the biggest or the loudest, but by strategically focusing their resources on what truly satisfies customer needs. It's about pinpointing those high-impact areas that deliver the greatest return on investment.
So it's like having a team of all-stars instead of a team of, just anyone.
Yeah.
You're saying by identifying those, like key players, businesses can achieve a level of efficiency and success that wouldn't be possible otherwise. That's a powerful concept.
Yeah.
But how can companies actually put this into practice? What are the actionable steps?
It all starts with simplification.
Okay.
And this can feel counterintuitive because we live in a world that's constantly telling us to do more and more.
Right.
But the first step is to identify those products or services, that crucial 20% that are truly profitable, your heavy hitters, you know?
Okay, so we're talking about really drilling down and figuring out what's generating the most revenue.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Right, that makes sense. What comes next?
All right, so next you got to take a hard look at everything else you're doing. What activities, even if they seem important, are actually like draining resources without adding significant value for your customers? Those are the things to eliminate, streamline, or even like outsource.
So it's about being really honest with yourself about what's like moving the needle and what's just taking up space. It's about working smarter, not harder, right?
Yeah.
But this isn't just a business book, is it? You're telling me this principle can be applied to my personal life too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Think about your relationships.
Okay.
You probably have like a wide circle of friends and acquaintances.
Right.
But if you really think about it, there's probably a smaller, like select group, maybe that 20%.
Yeah.
That brings you the most joy, support, meaning to your life.
Yeah.
And the 80-20 principle encourages us to nurture those key relationships, to be intentional about where we invest our time and energy.
So it's like curating your like inner circle.
Yeah.
Choosing to, spend your time with people who lift you up and inspire you rather than those who, drain your energy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's about quality over quantity, even when it comes to friendships. That's a really insightful way to look at it.
Yeah.
But relationships are just one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
What about money?
Yeah.
How does the 80-20 principle play into building wealth?
This is where things get really, really interesting.
Okay.
The book argues that investment income, rather than employment income, is more likely to lead to wealth.
Okay, but isn't that, easier said than done? Investing can be kind of intimidating, especially if you're not exactly, rolling in dough.
That's a common misconception, though. The book actually encourages a long-term approach to investing.
Okay.
It really emphasizes the power of compounding.
So you're talking about, like, letting your money work for you over time.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. But where do you even begin?
Well, the book lays out these, 10 guiding principles for investing.
Okay.
They're called the 10 Commandments of Investment.
Okay.
And while they're all valuable, a couple really stood out to me.
Okay, I'm listening. Give me the highlights.
Okay. The first one is make your investment philosophy reflect your personality.
Okay.
And that one really resonated with me.
Yeah.
It's about understanding your own risk tolerance and finding an investment strategy that aligns with your personality and your goals.
So if you're someone who likes to analyze data and research every detail, maybe you're more comfortable with a hands-on approach.
Yeah.
But if you're more of a big picture person, a different strategy might be a better fit.
Right.
It's about knowing yourself and finding what works for you. That's great advice.
Yeah.
What's the other commandment that stood out?
It's the idea of being proactive and unbalanced. It basically encourages investors to actively seek out opportunities where the potential rewards outweigh the risks.
Okay.
Now, this doesn't mean being reckless, but it does mean being open to unconventional ideas and challenging the status quo.
So it's about being a bit of a contrarian, looking for those hidden gems that others might be overlooking.
Yes, precisely. It's about recognizing that the most significant opportunities for growth and innovation, they often lie outside our comfort zones.
That's really inspiring. It's about challenging yourself to think differently, take, calculated risks, and trust your instincts. I love that. Yeah. But let's be real. Investing can feel overwhelming, especially with so much conflicting advice out there. What about those of us who are more, risk averse?
Yeah.
What does the book suggest for us?
The book actually offers some reassuring advice for those who are more cautious too.
Okay, good.
Invest mainly in the stock market and invest for the long term.
Okay.
These suggest that for most people, a diversified portfolio of stocks held for a longer time, that's a solid foundation for building wealth.
It's about trusting in the power of compounding, letting your money work for you over time, rather than trying to time the market or chase short-term gains. That's a really empowering message. It's not about getting rich quick. It's about making smart choices that will, pay off in the long run.
Exactly.
I like that. Now, I know we've covered a lot of ground here, but I'm curious, what was the most surprising or impactful insight you personally gained from this, deep dive into the 80-20 principle? What really stuck with you?
For me, it was realizing just how much this principle is everywhere. Like, it's not just about productivity or business. It's like this fundamental law of nature. It feels like it governs so many aspects of our lives.
You're saying it's everywhere, we just need to know how to look for it.
Exactly. From like wealth distribution to, personal happiness, from how successful companies are to the quality of our relationships, the 80-20 principle is there. And once you start seeing it, you can't unsee it.
Wow.
It's like that imbalance is often the key to efficiency. And focusing on those vital few can lead to extraordinary results.
Okay, that's powerful stuff. It's about like shifting our mindset from quantity to quality, from spreading ourselves thin to, concentrating our energy where it truly matters.
Yeah.
It's about making choices on purpose that are lined up with our values and goals. And what's so exciting is that once you start seeing the world through this 80-20 lens, you start noticing opportunities for improvement everywhere.
Absolutely. Whether it's making your workflow better, nurturing those really important relationships, or getting the most out of your investment strategy. The 80-20 principle helps you work smarter, not harder.
Right.
It's about creating a life that's more fulfilling and impactful by focusing on what truly moves the needle.
It's about making intentional choices, focusing on the vital few, and trusting in the power of imbalance. After this deep dive, I'm feeling inspired to apply these principles to my own life. But before we wrap up, what's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with from this deep dive into the 80-20 principle?
I think the most important takeaway is this. While the 80-20 principle shows us that things tend to be unbalanced, it's not about accepting that some people have more or less, or that the winners take all. It's about seeing the power and focusing on the vital few, and using that to create a better life, more efficient, more equal, more fulfilling for ourselves and for everyone.
Beautifully said. It's about using this principle to do good, to create positive change in our own lives and in the world around us. It's about working smarter, not harder, and using our time, energy, and resources to make a real difference. But let's not stop there. The 80-20 principle is all about making the most of our time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's move smoothly to another important part of the 80-20 life. When we talk about working smarter, not harder, it always feels like time is the biggest problem. There just isn't enough of it. But maybe the 80-20 principle had something to say about that too.
It really does. The book actually calls for what it calls a time revolution.
The time revolution, okay.
Yeah. It might sound a little dramatic, but what it really means is changing how we think about time and how we use it. It's not about cramming in more tasks or becoming like these super efficient robots.
Okay, good. So what is it about then? I'm already feeling like less stressed just hearing you say that.
It's about finding and prioritizing those times, those precious moments when we get the most done and we feel our best. Those, you remember those achievement islands we talked about?
Right.
It's about finding those and then being really strict, like ruthless even, about getting rid of those low-value tasks. Mm-hmm. The ones that just clutter our days and drain our energy, delegate them, get rid of them, whatever it takes.
Ooh, I like that. Those achievement islands.
Yeah.
Creating those mental spaces where we can really focus on the work that matters, without distractions. But to do that, you really need to know yourself, right? Know what gives you energy and what takes it away.
Yeah, you got it. It's about like tuning in to what works for you. Maybe you're a morning person. You like to tackle the big stuff before anyone else is awake. Or maybe you come alive late at night when it's quiet and you can really concentrate. The 80-20 approach to time isn't about fitting some mold. It's about working with your own rhythm,
It's so nice to hear that.
Yeah.
Because we're always being pushed to work a certain way, to be productive on someone else's schedule. But this is about letting ourselves work differently, to structure our days in a way that just feels right, that works with our natural rhythms.
Exactly. And it also means being willing to question all those things we believe about productivity.
Right.
All those shoulds and have-tos that make us stick to a schedule that frankly might not be good for us.
It's like we become the architects of our own time rather than like a slave to it.
Mm-hmm.
But let's be real, it's hard to break out of those old patterns, those habits. What are some things like specific strategies from the book that can help us take back our time?
One that really got me thinking was the idea of being really different, really unconventional, even a little weird in how we use our time. Like break free from what everyone expects, ditch the routines, all those default ways we're supposed to be spending our hours.
So if checking emails first thing in the morning makes you want to hide under the covers, maybe it's time to try something else. Find a better way to start your day.
Yeah, exactly. The 80-20 approach, it's about designing a schedule that puts your well-being first and helps you make the most of your best time.
I love that. It's about giving ourselves permission to work and live in a way that feels right, that feels, energizing and authentic. What other strategies were in the book?
The concept of leverage was a big one for me. The book talks about three main areas: making the most of our time, our expertise, and the talents of other people.
Okay, so let's break that down. Leveraging time, we talked about that. It's about knowing which activities have the biggest impact, that 20% that gets you the most results. But leveraging your expertise, what does that look like in the real world?
It means knowing what you're good at, what you bring to the table, and then investing in yourself. When you keep learning and growing in your field, people are willing to pay more for what you know.
So it's about becoming the expert, right? The one that everyone wants to work with because you have something really valuable to offer. They can't ignore you because you're that good.
That's it. And the third part of leverage, working with others, that's about recognizing that we don't have to do everything ourselves. When you build a team of talented people, people who make up for your weaknesses and have strengths that complement yours, you can achieve so much more.
So it's knowing what you're good at, but also being humble enough to say, hey, I need help with this.
Exactly. And remember, working with others isn't just about handing off tasks. It's about working together, being creative, and succeeding together.
This has been amazing. We've covered so much: business strategy, relationships, time management, even investing. The 80-20 principle is clearly more than just a way to get more done. It's a totally different way of thinking about building a better, more fulfilling life.
I totally agree. It's about being intentional, focusing on what truly matters, and making sure our actions reflect what we value.
It's about working smarter, not harder, in every part of our life. You know what? I think this deep dive deserves a spot on our listeners' achievement islands.
I like that.
So as you go through your day, think about this. Where in your life are you accidentally part of that 80%? Are there relationships, tasks, maybe even beliefs that are taking your energy without giving anything back? The 80-20 principle, it challenges us to really look at our lives, to question what we think is true, and to make choices that line up with what we want and who we want to be. It's about creating a life that has more impact, more efficiency, more fulfillment, one strategic choice at a time.
Being comfortable with yourself is a simple way to be happy. Please comment in the comments section on what lessons you learned from reading this book. If you would like to have the book, please order it from the link in the description section of this video. I take my leave. Don't forget to subscribe to the Shift Perspective YouTube channel. Bye-bye.